In this video I want to talk about a local legend featuring the devil himself. I've mentioned in many of my videos that I grew up in the countryside, which I love, but I moved to our capital city Prague around 11 years ago when I started college, and then I stayed here because of work. There are many old legends connected to Prague, and today I would like to talk about one that's tied to a place where I live at the moment, Vyšehrad, which could be loosely translated to something like High Castle, because the place is towering above the Vltava river and there used to be a castle in the medieval times. More on that later. The legend I want to talk about has more than one version, and it goes like this. They once brought a woman possessed by the devil to a Vyšehrad priest to exorcise the evil spirit from her. The priest's prayers and incantations were unsuccessful until he placed a box with holy relics on the woman's head, at which point the devil possessing her spoke up. He promised to leave the woman's body if the priest accepted a wager. The devil would fly to Rome the moment the priest began celebrating Mass in the Vyšehrad church. In Rome, he would enter the church of St. Peter, take one column, and fly back to Bohemia. If he returned to the Vyšehrad church before the priest finished the Mass, the priest would lose his soul. Trusting in divine help, the priest accepted the challenge. So, when the priest entered the church to celebrate Mass, the devil took flight to Rome. However, instead of entering St. Peter's church, he flew into the church of Santa Maria in Trastevere, which was closer. There he seized a column and began his return journey to Bohemia. St. Peter did not want to grant victory to the devil and supposedly struck him down 3 times into the sea near Venice, so the devil had to retrieve the column from the sea every time. This delay caused the devil to return to Vyšehrad after the priest had finished Mass. However, he arrived just a moment too late and, in anger, hurled the column onto the roof of the church with such force that it broke the roof, the rafters and the vaulting, falling onto the stone floor, where it shattered into 3 pieces. Another version of the story of the broken Vyšehrad column is told as follows. There was once a poor man living near Prague who struggled to feed himself and his family of 8 children. Poverty weighed heavily on him, and he didn't know what to do. One day, while he was in the woods collecting firewood, he encountered a hunter who struck up a conversation with him. The poor man lamented his misery to the hunter. Unbeknownst to him, the hunter was the devil in disguise, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll help you out of your hardship. You'll have everything you need, and everything will go well for you. But there's a catch. You must give me whatever your wife has in her hands when you return home." The poor man, not realizing the true identity of the hunter and desperate to be free from his poverty, agreed and signed the pact with his own blood. He hurried back home, but when he opened the door to his room, he saw his wife holding their newborn baby, their 9th child, a boy. Only then did he realize that he had made a pact with the devil. He was deeply saddened by this revelation. He pondered what to do and eventually confided in his religious neighbor, an elderly man. The neighbor advised him to have the boy baptized with the name Peter and to pray for help of Saint Peter. The poor man followed his advice. As the boy grew up, his father sent him to the neighboring priest to be trained for the priesthood. The son eventually became a priest, and his first Mass was to be served in the Vyšehrad church. However, on the morning of that day, the devil appeared to the father to remind him of their agreement. At that moment, Saint Peter intervened on behalf of his protege and forced the devil to agree that he would not have the power over the soul of the young priest, as long as he did not bring a column from the Roman church to Vyšehrad before the priest finished celebrating Mass. The rest of this story aligns with the previous version. The broken column remained in the Vyšehrad church for a long time before it was removed. It was initially placed in the cemetery, then in a chapel, and eventually ended up in the Vyšehrad garden. If you want to see a beautifully animated adaptation of the legend, there's an episode from Old Prague Legends about it, and it's in English on YouTube, so I'll put a link for it in the info card and also in the description box. The legend may apparently have its origins in the events of 1420. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Vyšehrad used to be a medieval castle. During the Hussite Wars, the Hussites successfully managed to defend Prague against a crusade led by Sigismund of Luxembourg, which you might know from Kingdom Come Deliverance. Although the main danger for the Czech capital had passed, there was still the threat of two royal castles, which were controlled by the vassals of King Sigismund, first being Prague Castle and the second Vyšehrad. They disrupted supply lines and everyday life in the streets, so soon after the Prague community decided to besiege Vyšehrad, which was the closest to Prague and further complicated communication with Tábor, which was a very prominent town founded by the Hussites in the southern part of Bohemia. The Hussites besieged Vyšehrad, and even though King Sigismund was on his way to help the garrison inside the castle, he arrived too late because they struck a deal with the Hussites that if the castle won't receive help until certain date, they will surrender and the Hussites will let them go, which eventually happened, and the Hussites also defeated the arriving army of King Sigismund again. After that, they ransacked the Vyšehrad castle and turned it into ruins, because they probably didn't want it to fall into the hands of their enemies again and cause problems to the city. But back to the origins of the legend. I don't know if any of this is true, but it is said that when the people of Prague were besieging Vyšehrad and needed ammunition for their siege weapons, they removed columns from the Church of Our Lady of the Snows in Newtown, broke them and used the pieces as projectiles against Vyšehrad. The person who suggested this and was in command of the shooting was named Čert, meaning Chort or Devil. There is also a theory that the remaining fragments of the column may have come from the original Romanesque church on Vyšehrad. And that's all I have regarding this topic. If you ever visit Prague, I highly recommend checking out Vyšehrad. It's just a few minutes away from the metro station of the same name. There are many interesting places like St. Martin's Chapel, for example, and also a beautiful view of Vltava River and Prague with Prague Castle. Thank you for watching and see you in another video.